Codependency in Early Childhood, My Story, Part 1. Hello all, how are you all doing today? And I see that the video is kind of going out. So I don't know if you all can see me or not. Whatever, I don't really care. Maybe it's best I have a blackout. So I'll see what's what in yeah, maybe next time I'll just use my phone because this is kind of silly and stupid. But I'm gonna tell my story. So if you can still see me, say that you can see me. I'm gonna tell my story about early childhood and codependency. Hello Carol, hello Kim. So I grew up, well, I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, the specific form, spastic diplegia. Because I had CP, I was babied a lot as a child. Interesting thing to note, the doctors told my mother that I wouldn't have above a fifth grade mentality, so the mentality of about a 10, 11-year-old, maybe not 9, depending upon the age of when you enter 5th grade. Yeah, but the first word, and they said that I would only speak 2-syllable words. My first word that I ever spoke was rhinoceros. So, as far as mentally, we knew then that what the doctor said didn't quite add up. But I was always taught that I couldn't do anything myself. It's more that my mother feared for my safety because of my CP. I didn't learn how to wipe my own butt going number 2 until the age of 10. So I didn't learn a lot of different things that I should have until a later age. When I first started school, I was put into a school called Chatsworth in I believe it was Reisterstown still, because that's the town I grew up in, Reisterstown. And so Reisterstown was a school for people that were mentally challenged. I don't know, about 9 months to a year in, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, Chatsworth kicked me out. And Chatsworth kicked me out because they, whatever the administrators were like, this kid's too smart to be in here. Back then, obviously, like I said before, I'm a transsexual, so they were like, oh, he's, too smart to be in this class. He's not mentally challenged at all. Yeah, he's got physical disabilities, and sometimes he spaces out a little bit, but yeah, he's smart, and we have to kick him out now because he doesn't belong here. And so then started my journey in regular school. And then I got put into like a special education program with the teacher, Miss Richter. And we got the computer for doing English assignments because I couldn't write that well. And so I used an Apple II computer, the thing with the black and green screen, like the black screen with the green letters. Yeah, that was the Apple II, right? Something like that, because Apple had a thing, I guess a contract or whatever with the schools. We'll put computers in schools, but you kind of, only put our stuff in there. So no PC, no one else. It's just going to be Apple computers. That's just how it was. And I graduated, I went through school, and then when it became time for middle school, what ended up happening for 6th grade was that, they put me in a self-contained classroom so I wouldn't have to switch classes. But in doing that, what also ended up happening was that I was in a classroom for people that was not of the same caliber of education as our normal 6th grade. Yeah, maybe I was arrogant a little bit. Maybe I didn't know everything. I did learn like where each state was located, though. That was, one thing I did learn in that class that I don't think I learned in any other class beforehand. But I didn't really do 6th grade work. They had me, doing spelling tests, spelling the words like fireplace in 6th grade, spelling words like clown. It's like, okay, yeah, this is like third grade material, and I'm in sixth grade. And they finally got me out of the classroom, out of the self-contained classroom for some class of like science, math, and music or something like that. And then, but my mother fought with the school to try to get me a laptop, and then or some kind of computer to write on to do my assignments. They wouldn't budge, so I ended up, having a one-to-one assistant that got paid a stipends. I didn't learn how to tie my shoes until about eighth grade, because that's just how I was. I was babied a lot, and people just accepted that I was, stupid and everything else, and I wouldn't, I wouldn't say they would avoid me, but, that's the way it was with handicapped people back in the 90s, and even still today. But still, that's the way it was back then. And I'm pretty sure it was even before I was born, it was like that. Because handicapped people, either when you're born with a disability, they automatically assume it's a mentally challenged thing. Then again, my condition is known as a cerebral palsy, so there is brain damage there. I can't really blame anybody for that. But still, obviously it was my own doing, but then again, I am a kid. I can only do what you teach me until a certain age. And I was severely codependent on everybody to do everything. I didn't learn how to do hardly anything until the teenage years and beyond. So for the bulk of my early childhood life, I was codependent way beyond belief. I took showers with my mother until the age of about 10 or 11. I believe it was 10. Then again, this should be rather embarrassing at this point to actually say to, especially strangers. But I'm so used to just saying whatever I want at this point on a live, especially, that I really don't care anymore. And can you guys even see me, or is it just a black screen on your end too? I don't even know. But that's the way I lived. Yeah, got on the honor roll at school, but I couldn't wipe my own ass. That's the funny part. So you would think if I could get on the honor roll at school, and I was reasonably functional, I didn't have to have anybody, help me go to the bathroom. Yeah. But that's just how I lived for a while. And it just, I guess, looking back now, it was pretty crazy. Well, because I can't see anything. And this video producer, I know that it blows, but I just don't feel like setting up the phone and then having the phone fall out of the tripod and trying to fix that up. And I know that I'm lazy and it's my own fault and I should be using the phone. But anyway, back to the story. It's just pretty crazy. Somebody with, a lightning mind like me that was, for the most part smart, would be taught to not do anything with himself or herself, and just be the way that I was. Just because the doctor tells you something doesn't mean that you should necessarily go along with 100% of what he or she says. I pretty much beat all the odds numerous times. I was supposed to be born with a twin. The twin, I don't know, was stillborn, but the twin died. And twins are, when you're born with twins, there is an increased risk for damage like mine. When it comes to CP, twins have a triple chance or a risk of having CP, as those that are not twins, that are just, I guess, regular or normal or single. So it's like I've been beating the doctors. I've been, I guess I've been, I guess, anti-societal or doing things against society since I was born. I didn't go outside and play, obviously due to fear of falling and everything else like that, although my brother did make me go out in the snow when the snow did fall. I grew up in Baltimore. I haven't always lived in Arizona, so I just moved here about a year ago. A little bit over a year ago. I lived in Baltimore my whole life. My brother made me go out in the snow. I decided to take all the time to go around the entire house in the snow. I made it, but still, I didn't really throw a ball. There was one time my mother, had to work, so she put my brother and I through some kind of camp, day camp. And then because I got hit, I got hurt or I got hit and knocked down, and then when we were playing kickball one time, so they wanted to put me in the 6 to 8 groups, and I declined because I didn't want to play with the 6-year-olds or the 8-year-olds. I was like 9 years old. I didn't want to play things like Duck, Duck, Goose. I wanted to be with people my own age. And I was a sore loser because of my baby nature. I was a sore loser. I would cry when I would lose at games, even though it was like I was way past the age of being a sore loser. But still, that's just, again, it took me a long time to mature because of the way that I was raised, I guess. I was raised to believe that I couldn't do anything myself, and therefore that's how I lived. And it didn't need to be that way. Not that I'm complaining about my life. Because, not to get into it like a numerology thing here, but it said that the life path 11, or in my case, more specifically the 11/2, that that life path is a late bloomer life path. And I guess I fit that mold. Not that I was trying to, and I didn't know about numerology until about 4 years ago. So it's not like I had that in my head the entire time. But that's how it is. Like, I don't know if you can see, I'll try to do it here, even though I can't see it. The left hand, when I move my fingers on the right hand, you can see I can move them pretty well. But when you get to the left hand, it's okay. I can't do this, so do it quite as well with the left hand as I can do with the right hand. You can see it's kind of, I can't really move my fingers quite as good. And since, especially like pleases, that's more about the, so I have more of an imbalance in my legs, and that's the part that's been affected the most out of anything else. It's not really the legs that are the problem. It's the part of the brain that controls the legs that's the problem. In other words, I'm mentally, as far as all the mental and logical stuff and everything else, the imagination is pretty good. But when it comes down to like the part that moves the legs or tells, the brain, oh, it's time to move the legs now. The brain's like, oh, I don't know, George. I'm too stupid to know how to stand up straight. It's the best that I can do. And the other parts of the brain are like, come on, we're already smart enough for this. Do your, move the feet and legs right. Move them. Gee, I don't know how to do that stuff. And that's how the brain is, and I'll be that way for the rest of my life. Yes, there could possibly be a surgery. We could possibly do that now, maybe. But in order to really to do a surgery to fix me all the way, to where I'm not disabled anymore, you probably would need to fix the brain in some way, like either or like either change the brain's stimulus to where it acts right. But also I can see like detaching and reattaching the limbs and everything, towards the spine and everything else. And no doctor I guess set of doctors are going to take that risk on their career, and it would be too expensive to even do in the first place. From age 1 to 15, I had 16 surgeries, most of them being on my legs. A few, 3 or 4 of them being on my eyes, and I had a lot of casts put on my legs. My main surgeon until I was about 9 or 10 was Dr. Libby Diamond from Kernan's Hospital. She was disabled too, but she was kind of more worse off than I was. She was really hunched over like a lot of the time, and it's that she had what 3 fingers on one hand and 3 fingers on the other. I forget what kind of fingers she had on each hand, but it was different on each one. I think that she had like a thumb, an index finger, and a ring finger on one hand, and then a thumb, a middle finger, and a ring finger on the other hand. I'm not sure which one was which. But she knew how to tough things out. She knew how to get stuff in. She would bust my ass. She would bust everyone else's ass too. Everybody knew that I was babied as a child, and but no one really said anything. Not too much anyway. So I was smart at the whip, but no application. Because of my upbringing. I was always taught that I couldn't do anything myself and to always keep myself safe. That was my upbringing. So it's kind of funny that in that sense when you're handicapped, you kind of don't have a gender, so to speak. Because none of the gender norms are really passed down to you. Not too much anyway. Because you can't really fit in with anybody. Well, I mean, you can. I mean, obviously I realize that now. You still can. But as children, you can't really fit in, so to speak. And people always look at you funny. People always want to know, what happened to you? Why do you walk that way? What's going on here? And a lot of the things still persist today. Because people don't think that those with disability can be smart and just not be able to function in some ways. They automatically assume that if you have a disability, you can't understand things that well. Not that I know this firsthand, but I know that pregnant women that are they have a difficult time too. Because some comments I've read online, not that I've read it too much, but they're like, oh, well, your husband's already has 1 baby now. He's got 2 more on the way, huh? And that's what a mother will say to the daughter. It's like, that's crazy. And I'm sure that stuff like that does happen. Where doctors and people don't think that a pregnant woman can take care of her kids because she's disabled. But as far as rights are concerned, and this wasn't a rights video by any stretch. But as far as rights are concerned, the disabled rights are the ones that remain in silence. silence all the way, because either people don't want to speak up, or they've been taught that they can't do anything because so they're not going to speak up for their rights, because most people are taught that kind of stuff by doctors, by parents, by whoever, teachers. They teach them all that to keep them safe, because they don't want because they think that they're doing the right thing. It's not like people are trying to do bad by somebody, but they think that they can't, that they're doing the right thing, and they're not doing the right thing. People can do more than what they think they can do. I've done this. This is only the first part of this series. I'll come back tomorrow and so on and so forth and tell them, the majority of my story. This is only the beginning. It's just a shame that the video kind of conked out. So from now on, I'll be using the phone. Thank you all for watching. As always, keep pushing forward and stay epic.